So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for a fabulous storyteller, Mr. John McCune.
You know, if you would have asked me a number of years ago, I would have proudly told you that I was involved in a very special, and I thought a very solid marriage. I was wrong, but I would have told you that anyway. We were two people devoted to each other, deeply in love. We had a plan for today, and we had a vision for the future. Now, we encountered all the things that we all encounter, married or otherwise. Challenges in life, financial, emotional, spiritual, careers get in the way. You know, money's always an issue, it seems. But every time we hit a hurdle, our love helped us clear that hurdle. I was comfortable, I was happy, I was at peace. We had a 4-year relationship before we got married, so I felt we had a very firm foundation. We married within 2 years. We had brought into the world 2 wonderful, incredibly vibrant children. We established a lovely home, but there was always that mortgage. We had those nice cars, but there was always those car payments. We seemed to be able to surmount any troubles. If you look back to day one of us, there were dynamics in our relationship that a blind man could have seen in a minute. Now, we were aware of these, but we thought that we could surmount these problems. I kid sometimes when I tell people we could have given Dr. Phil enough material for a week's worth of shows. Let me explain that. I hired this woman to work for me. I was her boss. So there's the episode on the office romance. I am 20 years older than she is, so there I am robbing the cradle. I'm a recovering drunk, so there's an episode and a half on addiction. And this girl survived the most horrific, traumatic childhood that I had ever encountered in my life. In the end, at the end of 16 years of marriage, she sought romance elsewhere, and that was the breakup of that marriage. I was devastated, I was shell-shocked, I was alone, and I was lonely. And I don't do lonely real well. I'm not a relationship-dependent person. However, I wasn't used to being alone. I think I missed my children the most. I have an incredible support network in my life that I have been blessed with since March 24th of 1980, when I put the plug in the jug. These people, we are like a band of wild horses. I am the injured horse, and these people just close in around me, and they carried me for a year through this messy, ugly divorce. After that year, they began to suggest that maybe I should start dating again. I wasn't ready. But I do what these people tell me because they've never told me to do something that was bad for me. Divorce is a very expensive venture, and being fond of what little money I had, since I didn't go to bars because I don't drink, I still attend the same church that I did when I was married, but the women there, although appropriately sympathetic with my situation, I think somehow saw my 0-1 record in the marriage as tainted material. I was, keep him at arm's length, there's something wrong there. So not having a great deal of money, I joined a free online dating service. I wrote a very accurate profile, 6'2", 170, 34-inch waist, swimmer's build. I mean, who does that? I mean, if it works out, you're going to meet the person. They're going to look at the profile, look at me, and go, oh, and you're a liar. But I wrote a very accurate profile. I took a very nice picture. I assembled them all very neatly on the web page. I moved the mouse over, and I clicked upload. Immediately upon doing that, I was painfully aware that the only people I was going to meet were women in my very same circumstance. Lonely and poor. But I left that ad out there, and after about 8-10 days, I had maybe 10-12 responses. One from a very attractive woman, 40-ish, highly educated, round face, short, and short, dark hair. I'm all about the short, dark hair. Witness Bethany in the second row. And Satori, I swear to God, one more haircut, I'm moving to Detroit. So I responded to her inquiry to me, and in my response, I included my personal email and my phone number with precise instructions for her to defeat the caller ID feature on her phone so she could be assured I wasn't capturing her number and would stalk her forever. By golly, the next day she called. Restricted. Good. I answered the phone. We talked for 30, maybe 40 minutes. She thinks we have enough in common, we should go out on a date. Well, that made sense to me. She said, since we are both fans of live theater, that weekend in Old Town Lansing was the annual Renegade Theater Festival. This is where all the area theater troupes descend upon Old Town. They're all assigned a small venue, and they all put on plays. Free plays, remember, we're both cheapskates. So we met at a pizza parlor, shared a piece of pie and a Coke, and she said, here's the schedule for tonight. I would like to go see Peppermint Creek Theater Company's production of All the Great Books Abridged. For those of you who are familiar with the work, let me explain it to the rest of the audience. There are 3 characters in this show. They play the parts of a college professor, a coach, and a janitor. The audience plays a part in that we are a remedial literature course and we are cramming for a final. And these 3 guys are going to run us through 85 of the world's classic books in 90 minutes. It's a hoot. I'm on the aisle, my date's to my right. There's about 60 people in the venue. It's a very intimate setting. At one point in the play, the coach comes out and says, okay, now listen. The professor's going to come out next, and he's going to say that we're going to do the Odyssey. We don't want to do the Odyssey. The Odyssey sucks. So when the professor comes out and says that we will now do the Odyssey, I want everybody in the audience to sneeze. Shh, here he comes. He steps back. The professor comes out, takes a wide stance, and says, we will now do the Odyssey. Everyone in the audience, on cue, sneezes. Check that. Except my date. She's sitting there like a statue, and I'm thinking, you didn't get that complex set of instructions? See the professor, hear the Odyssey, achoo! I mean, it's not rocket surgery, right? But I let it go. This does throw the professor off, and he says, wow, did you hear that? It's the weirdest thing. Okay, what was I doing? We will now do the Odyssey. Everybody sneezes. Except my date, I let it go. This really throws the professor off. He says, that's the strangest thing I've ever encountered. I got a costume change. I'll be back. He exits stage left. The coach gives us the thumbs up. We have avoided that lame piece of literature. Now, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. I did some acting in high school. I've been around a while, and I know there's this phenomena on stage known as a callback. I don't think for a minute we have heard the end of the Odyssey, so I'm pumped. I'm really pumped, because I know when it comes back, I'm going to be ready. The professor comes back out, he launches into his next book, and then he stops mid-sentence and says, whoa, we missed one. No, we didn't, the coach says. Go ahead with your book. No, the professor says, we missed a book. The coach says, Professor, honest to God, we've done every book. We even did, wait for it, the Odyssey. Now what happens next occurs in the span of about 4.5 seconds. Both actors stop. The audience is dead silent. I'm thinking, am I the only guy who knows what's next? Apparently. So guess who steps up? That's right, Johnny Mac. I let loose with a solo sneeze that absolutely rocks the house. Both actors freeze. The audience erupts in laughter. My date, on the other hand, throws her head in her hands and says, "Oh my God, what are you doing? I've never been more embarrassed in my life." No, I assure her. It's part of the play. No, it's not. The audience calms down. The professor says, "All right, now who the hell was that?" And as I prepare to raise my hand proudly, the coach says, "This guy right here in the front row." They pull this sap out of the audience. He's in the next 3 scenes. I am at once worried about the effect that this has had on my date, but I'm pissed because I'm supposed to be the guy on stage. And clearly, I'm not. The play ends. We walk out on the street. It's dark, of course. I tell her I'll walk her to her car. She starts with the disclaimers. "Well, I don't know when I'll be able to call you again. I've been very busy at work." "Really," I say, I think I don't know what it is you do for a living." "Oh, I'm a therapist." Hello! Now the frames are snapping together on this picture, aren't they? I'm on a date with a woman who is professionally trained to overthink everything. Now, honest to God, do not get me wrong. I am alive today because of the therapeutic process that I endured in my personal life in the mid-1980s. But I've been around a while, and it is my unscientific observation that the population of the mental health field directly mirrors that of general society, in that about 45% of them are just whack jobs themselves. And I'm on a date with one. We get to her car, we part company. The next day in the paper, I see Peppermint Creek Theater Company is holding open auditions. Well, I got the acting bug now, right? So I show up and I do a reading. I didn't get the part. But at the end of my audition, I said to the director, "Chad, by the way, Saturday night in Old Town, that third sneeze, you were waiting for that, right?" He says, "Yeah, was that you?" "Yes, it was." "What the hell took you so long? 4 seconds of dead time on stage is a lifetime. We thought we were going to die up there." "That's not the question, Chad. The question is, why didn't I get pulled up on stage?" Nope. We always pick third guy on the right from the center aisle. Makes life a lot easier for everybody. I go home. The next night, she calls me. "I won't be calling you anymore. I'm seeing someone seriously." "Well, I hope that works out for you. By the way, I went and auditioned for Peppermint Creek Theater Company's next production." "Well, why would you want to do that?" "Well, because I want to be in a production. I want to be in a play. I want to be on stage." "Well, I like live theater, but I don't know why anybody would want to get up there and act like that." I said, "Okay, number one, you're not at work. And number two, we don't have time to pull all my shit out, unpack it in the sunlight, and have you analyze it. I just want to tell you that I asked Chad, the director, and he said that third sneeze was indeed part of the play." "It doesn't matter, John. I had friends in the audience, and I don't know what I'm going to tell them." To which I reply, "Why don't you tell your therapist?" Hello? Hello? Yeah. She hung up on me, and I didn't expect that she was going to call me back. Now, the bad news about that segment of the story is that while I did have a date, I only had one date with a very attractive, highly educated woman. She didn't like me. She didn't care for my bubbly, outgoing personality. The good news is twofold. I owe her a debt of gratitude because she helped me, even though that date broke down. She helped me break through, didn't she? She helped me break through the sadness, break through the solitude, and break through the hurt. Ladies and gentlemen, in that fleeting moment in that theater that night, I had no choice. I had to reach down inside me and produce that performer that had been lying dormant since my high school acting days. For that, I thank her, and for tonight, I thank you. Thanks very much.
John McCune, ladies and gentlemen.